your time tonight.
Thank you very much.
so much for having
Thank you
us.
so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, we're going to transition over to the city auditor discussion. This is going to be conducted with Dan Miles and Laura Dowd. And again, I'll ask that you both you've got your hands up already. Perfect. You're well ahead of the curve. Same format as the prior sessions. There are going to be 4 questions of 2 minutes each. We'll start with an opening statement and then a concluding statement at the end. The opening statement, we've chosen the random order, and we'll reverse that at the end. So we'll start this evening with Dan Miles. You have 2 minutes for an opening statement. If you'll unmute yourself, you can begin. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Dan Miles, and I would like to thank the association for hosting this event this evening and giving us the opportunity to share ideas about the city. I was born and raised in Long Beach. My wife, Rita, was also born and raised here. Together, for almost 40 years, we are the children of almost a very successful small businessmen and women. Together, we raised 3 wonderful daughters here in the Bixby neighborhoods. I care deeply about the future of our great community, which is why I'm running for city auditor. If elected, I will serve as your fiscal watchdog and bring fresh eyes to our money. I'm not a career politician. I've never sought public office before. I am a CPA with 35 years of private sector experience in both accounting and auditing. In my career, I managed the financial operations of some of America's largest companies and best known brands. I got my start working at a firm called Ernst & Young. I held senior management positions later at companies like Coors and Pepsi. At Pepsi, I was in charge of performance audits for the western part of North America. I built my reputation not only on professional expertise, but most importantly, my integrity and personal character. Integrity is always doing the right thing when no one's looking. It's a perceived attribute that either you have or you don't. You earn it. You lose it by looking away when it matters. We have a record revenue, yet the largest revenue source has not grown in 10 years. Why? Are we auditing the right things? Our campaign is about restoring the trust in the office of the auditor by bringing transparency to the tip of all citizens. I will put the city spending in a searchable database online. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Miles. We turn to Laura Dowd for her opening statements. You also will have 2 minutes whenever you're unmiked and unmuted and ready to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Am I on?
You are.
Thank you for having us tonight and hosting this forum. It's great to be here. I'm Laura Dowd, the City Auditor of Long Beach, and it's an honor and a privilege to serve this wonderful community that I love, that I was born in, that I was raised in. I'm a 3rd generation Long Beach resident. My grandfather built part of the breakwater. My grandmother was a PTA president. My mom and dad graduated from Long Beach Poly. I'm one of 8 children that we all graduated from Long Beach Wilson High School. It's a great community. I love it with all my heart. It's been a privilege to serve this as the city auditor. I've established a great team. We've done great work with some great results. I'm sure you've seen us in the papers, but I've been very aggressive about going after money that is due to the city. We have brought in millions and millions of dollars for the benefit of Long Beach. People ask sometimes, why should I care about audits, or what do they matter? One example is the oil production tax that brought in $3.3 million every year since 2007 of its passage. I led the way on that oil production tax. I was told that the polling, it wouldn't pass, but Long Beach's oil production tax was the lowest in all neighboring cities. I took the challenge and went with a vote, and it required 70% because it was special for public safety. It received 71% of the vote, all at no cost to the taxpayers, just to the oil production tax. Why does this matter? Because it has brought incredible public safety to our community, and $50 million to date. I will continue to go after money that's due to the city, bringing in millions that is owed to us. I will also follow quality of life issues that are important to the community and ensure that we are doing the performance audits and quality of life audits that our residents deserve. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Dan Miles, you have 2 minutes for the same question, which is this. Looking ahead to the next 4 years, what areas of concern do you have for the city's finances and how would you act to address them?
I would start with the largest expense that any homeowner has or anybody is in their life. And that is your shelter, affordable housing. How are we dispersing funds for affordable housing? How are we creating the opportunities for people to obtain affordable housing if it's available? We have had several opportunities recently that have come before the city. Ocean Air, Mid-Block are the 2 most recent that caused me concern. When I was working at the port, we did the financing for the port's headquarters in downtown. Little did I know that 7 years later, this would still be in the newspaper as the Mid-Block portion hit roadblocks. When looking at the roadblocks and looking at the opportunities the city was pursuing, I saw people who were involved in developing products for the city in terms of affordable housing that was creating $900,000 units and partially financed with 10% tax-free bonds. This causes me great concern because not only is that not affordable, that is also fiscally irresponsible. Because when I look at the property taxes that are associated to that in the city, I see a flat line for the last 10 years. So the first place I'm looking at, even when we have record revenues and a whole lot of, I'll bet if we counted them, record potholes, something's wrong and it needs to be looked at. So I would start by looking at affordable housing. It's the first one.
Okay. Forgive me though. My screen glitched for a couple seconds there a little while back. Ms. Dow, did you already address this question? Or did you not have a chance yet? Can you unmute, please?
Yes, yes, I have not.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just want to make sure because my screen went blank for a minute there. So yes, same question to you, Ms. Dowd. Looking ahead to the next 4 years, what areas of concern do you have for the city's finances and how would you act to address them?
Yes, and we have budget issues. We have payments that will be due because of court orders regarding Measure M. We will really need to make some very tough decisions as a city in our budgeting. We will, I'm sure, need to do some proportionate sharing. I would go, as the city auditor, I would be very aggressive at going after revenue audits, making sure that we are collecting all revenue due to the city, as I mentioned in my opening, and ensuring that we bring in this money. As I mentioned, the oil production tax, it was told to me that it had been looked at. The polling said it wouldn't pass, but we went aggressively at it. And we rallied the community together. We got everybody involved. I and the mayor and the council members went to community groups just like this, explaining why we needed it. And that the audit my office did showed that Long Beach had the lowest oil production tax out of all neighboring cities. We need to bring it up to date. Nobody had brought it up to date. In 1990, I took office in 2006, but from 1990 to 2006, oil had like tripled, but the oil production tax had not, and it needed a vote. So we went after it, and it has provided tremendous value to the city in public safety. That additional $3.3 million that is being brought into the city every single year for public safety, specifically it bought Fire Truck 14 that saved a 3-story house from burning down. The fire was able to contain it to a 1-bedroom because Fire Truck 14 was purchased by Prop H money. And if it hadn't been, then Fire Truck 17 would have had had to come, and that would have taken 20 minutes longer. That house would not have been restored. That's why we should care and aggressively go after money and revenue audits that are due to the city. And that's what I will continue to do.
Thank you, Ms. Dowd. Their second question centers on the Queen Mary, and we'll start with you, Ms. Dowd, this time. The question is this, and it's a little lengthy, so just bear with me here. Are there any lessons to be had in the city's handling of the Queen Mary financing extension and oversight to date? What steps would you take to ensure that whatever plan the city undertakes to restore or repurpose the Queen Mary is done prudently and without extra burden to residents and taxpayers?
Well, thank you very much for that question. As you know, on November 1st, on 2016, when the council item was there to give Urban Commons the $23 million to make repairs, I was the one elected official that stood up and warned the council not to do it. I didn't feel there was appropriate due diligence before we gave this money away. Most people hadn't even really heard of Urban Commons and who they were and what their background was and what their experience was. There was a marine study that was done that identified $285 million of repair work that needed to be done, yet we were going to give them $23 million for some urgent and critical repairs. I didn't know how they came up with that. I hadn't seen the marine study. This all just kind of hit me at one time. So I stood up and told the council that before you gave the $23 million away, please let my office spend a couple of weeks looking at it. Or actually, I asked for a month first, but they voted it now. So then I just said, can I have just a couple of weeks to look at it before we do this? Anyway, the majority of the council overruled me and gave it anyway. Within a couple of years, all $23 million had been spent. That's why we did an audit of the $23 million. As a result, we found out that the majority of the projects, the urgent and critical repair projects that were supposed to be spent for that $23 million had not been spent. And there were additional studies that have been done showing just what repair work needs to be done, how much it needs to be done. There's been several. Right now, we're at a critical place. We need to take all of these studies and figure it out. We haven't had a plan for the Queen Mary. We haven't had proper oversight in the contracts. We really haven't had a proper plan since day one, since she's got here. And if we're going to keep it, we need to make sure that she is a priority for us so that we can properly plan and use money appropriately to make this work.
Thank you, Ms. Dowd. The same question to you, Mr. Miles. I'll read it again just because it's a little lengthy here. Are there any lessons to be had in the city's handling of the Queen Mary financing extension and oversight to date? What steps would you take to ensure that whatever plan the city undertakes to restore or repurpose the Queen Mary is done prudently and without excess burden to residents and taxpayers?
Oh, lessons learned. Let's see, 50 years after it was a problem when it got here, we're still talking about the problems of it. The lessons learned is let's settle this once and for all and either give the Queen Mary to the bottom of the sea or to the federal government. But the Queen Mary is a drag on the city. It distracts us as a community. It needs to go. That's about all I would say about the Queen Mary. But let me say this. When the Queen Mary was getting into trouble in Urban Commons, it was when the newspapers started putting it out there that we decided to go back and launch a follow-up audit. Why? Because I think we were distracted from doing the audits that we should have been doing, and we got distracted away from doing. When we're right now sitting on record revenues, and we're talking about cost sharing across the boards. Why don't we look at where the money is being spent now? Why don't we take a look at how we're spending that money now? Instead of, as we heard the attorneys eloquently point out earlier, we passed an illegal telephone tax, an illegal sewer tax, an illegal water tax. What's next? An air tax? No, we need to look at the money and the revenues we have now and take good care of that money and develop a way so that the people can trust what government is doing. That's why I'm going to put in place an open checkbook, a searchable database where you can look at where every single month, every single penny is being spent daily. Thank you very much.